Hello, this is Malorian, and what this video is going to be all about is while you get to watch these nice pictures of the other armies here and stuff at the tournament, I'm going to be talking about how I did, my army list, and then about the tournament itself. Just my thoughts on the way it was run, and blah, 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 blah. So first of all, how did Malorian do? Well, he didn't do too well. I got 2 wins and 3 losses, and this is the first time in a long time that I won less then I lost, and that really hurts. It was one of these things where I go into a tournament to have fun, right? I'm not there to crush everybody, but at the same time, I sell this level of respect. Where like, know what? I'm a veteran player. I'm a good player. I should be winning more than I'm losing. So that automatically that makes me feel pretty bad there, or it's not bad, but disappointed in myself right off the bat. The second thing too is that I'm a stats guy. And if you look at my wins, I have a dominating massacre win, then a massacre win I had to fight for, then a minor loss, a massacre loss, and then a tabling where I was just destroyed. And obviously then you have to say, like, whoa, well, wait a second, what causes this trend here? So is it something where I was just like giving up or something like that? And that's not really the case at all. Really, I really think it was a thing to do more with dice, where once you start getting to game 3, things just went crazy, where all of a sudden my level 4 was dying to like a stiff breeze, and my monsters was dying all over the place, guarding bodies, crazy dice. And the other thing too is you always have to make sure that you're not just being a sore loser and throwing out that random like, oh, I had bad dice card, right? And so I have to look at myself for tactics. So Game 3 was up against the Lizardman. That's the one where I decided to go after the Slan. Now, I believe that was the right call. It was just a thing where on my turn 1, I lost all magic, and then he was able to force through everything he needed to kill off my guys, right? It was just perfect. He had the Savage Beast of Horus, the Scarvets, all set up to take me down, and it was a very bad situation. Next game against the Empire. Looking at that one there are some things I could have tried to do differently. I was up against those cannons, which was bad. There was definitely some luck there. But it was also a thing where maybe through magic and stuff, I could have done more to try and kill the cannons, to eliminate those as a threat. Go up with a boosted Soul Quench, try and take it off that way. And, things could have possibly come out different. So that's the thing where I have to look at myself and say, hey, maybe I kind of did to myself. I did not concentrate enough on the war machines, and that could have caused my loss. I mean, sure, I might be in a spot where he could charge me, but hey, I can always just flee and get away and then rally after I take out all the war machines. So that one, I kind of see where I could have played that one differently. The last one here against the Ogres, there was pretty much everything I can look at myself and say this was a bad move was when I was at desperation, right? Like when I was going for the flank charge with the Phoenix and the Reavers. Maybe I shouldn't have done that thing, but really when my whole thing failed with the Griffin, I was in a bad spot. And I mean, another way I could have changed that too is I had a Phoenix over there. And the Phoenix could have been set up so it could see both the cannon and the other unit. But I decided not to because then the unit might get away and I have 2 monsters dedicated against 1 cannon. But hey, looking back at it, the cannon was such a high priority that I really should have gone and dedicated more to making sure it was taken down. So that's something where I can really say like, hey, maybe that's it. But in the end, that cannon wasn't the determining factor in that game. It was more again where, hey, look, poison shots kill a Phoenix. Hey, look, a fireball kills my mage. Hey, look, I failed double panics and my dragon's running. It was just, it's just one of these games where, I look back and said, know what? Maybe I'm being punished and I should be playing my orcs because this is the type of craziness I would expect to happen when I'm playing my orcs. When I'm playing high elves, I should be having like dependability. These crazy things shouldn't be happening. So maybe this is, Mork and Gork punishing me for going to the high elves, saying I should be going back to them. But either way, that's the way I did. And looking back, there obviously were things I could have done differently, but that's just really the way it is. Looking at my list and how I might have changed things, with hindsight and all this, first one comes to my level 4 Archmage. Now, this guy was set up on the Moondragon with the Talisman of Preservation and the Book of Hoeth. And one of the things that I definitely was hoping to try some other way to find out to keep it safer is just how do I get more defensive gear on here? Because I can die easily, like especially when I go to combat. I am really at a weakness where I'm at toughness 3, a 6+ armor save. Sure, I might have a 3+ ward, but I'm really leaning on that 3+ ward in my ability to heal myself. But really, the way it's set up is I don't really have a lot of options. I can't buy armor. I can't take the crown from the high elf book because I already have the preservation, right? So I already have that going. So it's just very limiting. Really, the only other build I could see is going with the Fencer Blades and the Potion of Toughness. But even that won't really help me if against shooting or anything like that. And as for the Book of Hoeth, it didn't really always help, but then again, it didn't really have the opportunity to really show itself off because my level 4 kept dying. So maybe it didn't really get a fair shake. So really, if I was to do this again, my Archmage would stay the same. Then there's the Dragon Mage with the Enchanted Shield. There's other things you can put on there. I mean, like there's the one shield from the High Elf book that gives them a 4+ ward. But the thing is that that's 10 more points, and I'm literally like at the brink. At my heroes here, I was at 24%. So really, the only thing I could shift here is if I didn't take a scroll. That's really my only thing here that I'm just taking on a whim. That's like an option. But really, the scroll is so necessary, and it really had to be in the list. So again, I wouldn't change that. The nobles, I saw some things there where people said I should be taking the noble on an eagle and doing the whole thing with the reaver bow. But then again, that guy's going to be dying again to the cannons and stuff. And really, I really like how the griffin works with the phoenix, where all of a sudden it turns into a toughness 6 beast. You're getting the double thunderstomps, and those guys can to smash through something. So really him with the charm shield, I really like that build. I really think that's the way to go. I just really like it. What else can I say? I really don't think I change either of those builds. Then I get on to the core. Now for the core, I went with the 25 spearmen, the 20 archers, and then the 2 units of reavers. And one of the things that I thought was funny is that originally I took this for the reavers, is how I designed it, right? Reavers everywhere. But because I didn't have it painted, I took the other stuff. Well, when it came to the game, the reavers were very, very limited in what they did. And I actually found the archers really, really helpful. And the reason for that is just the fact that I need to kill war machines. And so all that cheap shooting, pew, 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 killing the war machines is exactly what I need. So really what I see myself doing is I'd probably still need those couple of units of reavers just for redirecting and all this stuff. But I really think then my spearmen, who were only, pretty much the same cost, really should have been another 20 archers. Then it's all of a sudden, those times where, I failed to take out the Hellblaster, or I failed to do this, I'm just shooting up these war machines, and even though, like, really, to be honest, whether it's a block of spearmen or a block of archers, they fight pretty much the same. So that's not really an issue there. And those shots killing war machines can mean the world to this list. So that's definitely something there that I would change. As far as my rares go, man, those Frostheart Phoenixes, especially in the last game when I realized finally that they have 5 wounds, those things are awesome. Phoenixes are so good. I was talking to Kieran Dunleavy, and really, for him, he was trying to be a little bit more careful with his Frost Phoenix, right? Like, only dedicate if you have a flank or something like that. For me, I was just throwing them in there, going, like Malorian style, and it was working out great. These guys are awesome, effectively toughness 7 and all this stuff, and they just get better with whatever the magic phase is. So really awesome. Definitely, on a competitive list, taking 2 is the way to go. An Eagle, surprisingly, my Eagle was finding itself almost nothing to do. I mean, redirecting is nice and all this stuff, but really, because the vast majority of my list was dancing around, I found a lot of times Eagle wasn't really needed. It's always nice to have that cheap throwaway for 50 points, though, so he'd still stay. Then there's the repeater bolt thrower. What would I do with that? Would I keep that? Would I take another Eagle? Blah, blah, blah. I like having that one little solid shot. A lot of times I was using it to try and help with my shooting, obviously. Whenever my archers couldn't kill a war machine, then the bolt thrower would do the 6 shots to try and finish it off type thing. So I really do like it too. Helps me, soften up some of the hard targets too before my monsters go into it. So I do like that bolt thrower in there. So overall, really, I'm just changing my spearmen into archers, and that's pretty much it what I do with the list. There's a lot of other things I could do with it if I had more points. Obviously here I'm taking no specials at all, but the thing is that I'm at, 25% already at pretty much my max for my lords and my heroes. Wouldn't change those. I'm at like the minimum for my core. So unless I'm going to be dropping like a phoenix or something, even though it'd be like, hey, it'd be nice to get in, some white lions with the banner of the world dragon. I just don't have the points to put there. So maybe like at 3,000 points, but at this, that's pretty much it. Now, as far as the tournament went, it went fairly well. The way that they ran it, everything was pretty clear. At the end, though, it was getting a little bit quiet. They're, of course, like just yelling out, saying like, oh, come over here, fantasy guys. Remember, there's like a 40K, a fantasy, and a war machine tournament. And I found that it was getting kind of hard to hear at the end there, where people were starting to lose their voices after running and all that fun stuff, or yelling for so much. So really, I mean, if they could find some way for an intercom or something, it would really help a lot to try and figure out what's going on, because especially once you start saying the first couple of pairings, people are walking away and they're like, oh, you're going down, blah, 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 and it gets really hard to hear who you're against. They provided lunch, it was sandwiches, that all went really well. Really, another thing to talk about was the terrain. And I think this is something that really was different from past years, because really, I know these guys have a ton of terrain. They've been around for a long time. They have lots of terrain stored away. But this time here, I just didn't seem to be out there. You guys saw that those little Battlefield in the Box ruins, it was that stuff over and over and over. And I know one of the stores came out and brought terrain to help out. And I don't know if he brought that, but really, that stuff isn't really good for fantasy. It's good for 40K. It's good for a war machine. But when you have blocks going around, this whole thing with like multi-tiered ruins really doesn't work. So it really would have been nice to see terrain that would have worked better with fantasy, have a better variety of terrain, get some rivers in there, get some different magical monuments in there, stuff like this where, just... I know they had the terrain, so I don't know what happened. Maybe it got damaged. Maybe the person whose house it was at that was on vacation. I don't know what happened, but I did find it disappointing that terrain was not there. Then I can talk about the scenarios. Maybe something, this is the thing here where I like the skink scenario, I like the fire scenario, I like the giant scenario, but they kind of run the same missions every year. And they also have multiples on the table. So, I love them and they're nice, but something would be nice to do as well is just come up with a couple of new ones, start rotating them just to try and keep it fresh and different. As opposed to, like, okay, well, I got the skink one again, or I got the whatever one again. Just, keep it fresh and change it up a little bit from year to year. Finally, the biggest thing to talk about is the Axe of Valor, and I still really like that system. Some people will complain and say, like, oh, you can win without actually winning a game. There's one guy where he was going for the thing where you have to have all your units in the enemy's deployment zone. So all he did all game was just march forward. His army was getting crushed, but at the end of the game, he had like 1 or 2 units in the enemy's deployment zone. Everything else was dead. Hey, I get the objective for the Axe of Valor. And sure, that's one case, but at the same time, it takes a person that can say like, hey, this is what needs to be done for me to earn this. And as well, there's a lot of the stuff where, it's a lot easier to get everything into your opponent's deployment zone if you kill everything. It's a lot easier to control 3 table quarters when you win the game. Obviously, there's other ones that actually force you to win the game. So you get 1 point for, say, letting your opponent redeploy D3 units, and you get an extra point if you also win the game. So I really think it is a really good system. Some of the things I don't like, though, about it were just a couple little small points. One, there's a point for killing a special character. And although like in 40K, you see a lot of special characters, you don't really see a lot of special characters over here in fantasy. Out of all the armies, there's maybe 4 special characters, and yeah, I mean, you have no guarantee you'll actually ever see one. And so that's what I'd really like to see is make sure that all the things are on there, things that no matter who you play, you can still achieve. I mean, there's the one on there for killing a BSB or running him down. Sure, you might not see a BSB, but let's be honest, you're probably going to see one over 5 games. So something that was okay. Then there's the other one, like kill 2 terror causers. Even something like that was like really iffy, where there's only so many armies out there that actually had 2 terror causers. I mean, the vast majority of the things on the list are okay. I would just like to see those ones replaced with um, make it so you destroy the cheapest unit on the enemy side, or keep your most expensive unit alive. Just something like this where no matter what army you are, there's a possibility of getting it done, right? So that's that. But I mean, in the most part here, I hope I'm being clear that it was a very well-run tournament. I would definitely, I mean, I go back every single year. It's twice a year, and I go to it all the time. I would have loved it if I would have done better, but there you go. And probably one of the other things that was kind of disappointing too, just personally going into this, is one, my army. I couldn't believe this. I worked so hard to paint up this brand new army. Right here it is. Like I've never done high elves before. I've only done a couple small games of Borgnine. I bunker down, don't get any games in because I'm painting these guys up for the tournament, and I'm expecting to go there and be like, oh my god, Malorian's not running orcs and goblins, it's high elves, that's so cool. And what do I get? What a douchebag, right? Like, it's just, what? There was nothing. Like, I got one comment over the entire weekend about, oh yeah, I mean, they liked the way that my Phoenix was painted. But otherwise, that was it. There was nothing. If anything, I got comments of like, "Oh yeah, you should really bring your orcs and goblins next time. I miss seeing your orcs and goblins." And that's actually one thing that I also saw is that there was 0 orc and goblin players. It seemed like everyone had abandoned them. So either way, in my next tournament, I am taking them to Warhammered. We'll go through this whole, song and dance again in 2 weeks, or 1 week here now, pretty much, a week and a half, where I'll go over my list and all this stuff. But that was just disappointing, where you work so hard and then it's just not really appreciated. I mean, I don't want people to be like, oh wow, your painting's amazing, but just I expected more, like, oh wow, like you actually went out of your way, you did something different. It's not orcs and goblins again. That's what I expected, and instead I got called a douchebag. So whatever, that's the way it is. Secondly, I would say it was definitely a fail with my daughter. I brought my daughter there to the second day. Sorry, still getting over this cold. Brought my daughter to the second day, and it was really a thing where I thought, hey, I'm not seeing her for the whole weekend. I really want to spend at least a day with her. And I thought she'd be there, like watching, like, oh, your dragon died, daddy, blah, blah, whatever, right? And playing with the toys and dice on the side. And it went like that for the first game. But like I said, it was really obvious between the games and over the last one that, you know what, she's just still too young. She's only 5 years old. So I think that's going to be it for her for a while. Maybe we'll visit this again when she's 8 or something. I don't know. But, I'm looking forward to the day that I can teach her the rules and all that stuff. And, she can come play too. But either way, there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed the reports. I realized that in this running through here, there's actually a lot more blurry pictures than I normally get too. I'm going to have to take a look at my camera and figure out why that happened. I'm probably just trying to take the pictures too fast. But either way, thanks for watching, and there'll be another 5-game tournament in another week and a half here. So see you then. Bye.